Alright, hi, and welcome to my channel. My name is Casey, and today's reading is going to be all about what are you starting to outgrow and where are you being guided to go next. And I wanted to do this reading because I feel like, personally, I've started outgrowing things that I used to once love, things that used to feel right, and it really is a growing pain when you start to feel like things that once resonated so deeply are you're starting to move on from them. And it's a really bittersweet thing because it's a great sign that you're growing up, you're growing, you're changing, but it also hurts when you have to leave behind things that used to be such a comfort or things that you used to love or things you used to enjoy doing. And so this reading is for those of you who, because I feel like a lot of people have been in this kind of limbo state where things aren't quite tasting right, things aren't quite feeling right, things don't have the same kick that they used to. They're just not resonating the way that they used to for you anymore. And so it could be a sign that you're outgrowing the stage in life that you're currently at, and it's time for you to move on to a new one. And so I want this reading to be kind of a wake-up call as to like, what are you outgrowing right now, what's no longer fitting, but also I want to show you who are you growing into, what are you turning into, and what things do you have to look forward to. You know, where is life taking you, where is this flow taking you to? So it's gonna be a little bit of a bittersweet reading, but also hopefully like a little bit exciting because you get to look forward to, who am I growing into? So today I have 3 different readings for you to choose from. We have pile 1 with the Labradorite, pile 2 with the Hematite, and pile 3 with the Crazy Lace Agate. No, not Crazy Lace Agate. This is Blue Lace Agate, sorry. So go ahead and pause, figure out which reading you feel most drawn to. There will be timestamps down in the description box so you can quickly jump to whichever reading that you want to listen to. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, pile 1. I want to say I'm feeling like heavy emotions when it comes to your pile because it's a very like gut-wrenching, not even bittersweet, like it just feels like overwhelmingly like sad energy of like what it is that you're outgrowing. And keep in mind, if this doesn't sound like you don't need to freak out and be like, oh my god, is this thing falling apart? And no, unless it resonates with you, unless it sounds right and you're like, yeah, I've been expecting this or I've been feeling this, unless it really does resonate, this pile might not be meant for you. I don't want to cause anybody any stress over something that isn't meant for them. So if it doesn't sound like you, go ahead and choose a different pile. It could be that you chose wrong, or it could just be that this video isn't meant for you. But pile 1, what I have for you here today, the way that we're doing this is we're looking first at what are you outgrowing, and then we're looking at what are you growing into, what is opening up to you. And in the middle here we have 2 cards of who is the old version of you versus who are you growing into now. And what I see with what are you outgrowing, you have the Love card and the 3 of Pentacles. And to me, this really symbolizes a friend group. And I really got the energy of you're outgrowing things that you used to be interested in, certain behaviors, and now that you're outgrowing these things, you're really changing your perspective on a lot of things. You're realizing that people that you used to love being around, now when you walk away from hanging out with them or spending time with them, you feel like dirty or drained, or like you didn't enjoy the person that you were when you were around them. Like, I'll put it this way. Imagine you have a friend group that they just love to gossip. It's all that they do. And you start growing up and you realize, like, I don't like spending my energy on these negative things. I don't like talking badly about people. I don't like partaking in this kind of talk. But you care about these friends, and so you go to spend time with them, and then all they do is gossip and gossip and gossip, and you just feel like you're being brought back to a younger version of yourself, and you don't really enjoy doing this anymore, and you walk away, and you're like, why am I spending time with these people? And it's not that you don't love them, it's not that you don't care about them, it's not that they're not good friends to you, but they resonated more with the old version of you. And the version of you that you're turning into now doesn't really like doing things that they do or having the mindset that they have. I'll also give you another example, is like people who really, they believe that they can't make anything out of themselves. Like, imagine you grow up in a small town and they just have their mindset on, like, my family were coal miners, so we're gonna be coal miners and we can't do anything better with our lives. Like, they just have it in their head that they can't, like, it's out of their power to be better. I'm not saying coal mining isn't a good thing. This is just the example of, like, they have this self-limiting belief. And the old version of you used to have this self-limiting belief too. But as you've grown up, you've realized, like, no, I want more for my life. I want to travel. I want to see the world. I want I want to be an entrepreneur and build up businesses. And when you're around them, they're like, ugh, that's outlandish. That's never going to happen. Like, you're meant to be a coal miner like us. And so when you're around them, you feel dragged down. You feel not uplifted. You feel limited because they have limited beliefs. It rubs off on you, and then you have limited beliefs. And you're not meant to have those beliefs. And that's why it's starting not to feel right anymore. And you have the love card here. And it just really symbolizes, like, I think you really do love and care about these people. I think you've known these people for a long time. But with the Three of Pentacles card, you see these people talking, and you quite literally have this one person that's above the other ones. Not above them like superiority complex, but they're no longer on their level. I think that you're no longer on these people's level. You no longer resonate with the way that they behave, with the way that they talk. You want to grow up and you want bigger and better things for yourself, but you can't continue to be around people that don't want better for themselves too. Because you really are who you surround yourself with. And if you surround yourself with people that have limiting beliefs, you're going to have one as well. And if you want to be better and everybody around you is dragging you down, it's really difficult to do so. And I think that you really got the most perfect cards in the middle here. Because the version of you that you used to be is the Moth card. And moths are always chasing the brightest light. They're always clinging to what feels right, to what feels safe, because the dark is scary. But when I see the Wolf card, I see somebody who is leaving behind their pack. Somebody who is leaving behind the light to go into the dark, even though it's scary. But they've gained this sense of strength and this sense of courage to know that if I want to pursue the life that I want, I have to stray away from what I've known my entire life. I need to stray away from the comfort and the safety of the light, the thing that I've always been clinging to, so that I stay away from what's scary or what's unknown. But when I see the wolf, it's facing away from the light and it's ready to go into the unknown. And it's doing so alone. Like, I know that wolves are supposed to be pack creatures, but when I see this card with this specific wolf, I'm almost imagining a wolf leaving behind its pack, leaving behind safety and security so it could venture out and try to make something of itself. Like, okay, this is a really weird example, but it popped into my brain. It's like a wolf that's always wanted to be a giraffe, and everybody's like, you can't be a giraffe, you're a wolf. And the wolf is like, psh, you'll see. So it runs away and it learns to become a giraffe, which that is a wild example. I don't know why that came to mind, but I feel like it's you who you've always just been around people that you're like, okay, it's safe here. I'm not trying to be somebody I'm not going out and doing anything crazy or different. I'm staying here in my hometown where everything's comfortable. I've got a comfortable trajectory towards a career that I know I know exactly how it's going to pan out. But you felt your heart dragging you to something better, to something bigger, because you have a bigger and better purpose than what was simply laid out in front of you. But it's difficult because it requires going into the unknown. It requires going into the dark and the scary and the cold and leaving behind everything that you've known. And what you have here with what you're growing into, you have Cleanse and Temperance reversed. And I really, from these cards, I'm getting that you're going to be alone for a period of your life as you're growing into this new version of yourself. I don't mean you're going to be alone forever or, you're never going to have friends again. But when you leave behind this group, you're going to need to go into a period of isolation to get to know yourself better, with no outside distractions. In order to grow into the version of yourself that you want to be, you need to cleanse yourself of old things that, okay, this is kind of a gross example, but like, imagine, being in the shower and like really scrubbing away all the dead skin. That is the next chapter of your life that you need to go into. You need to scrub away. And it's going to hurt. It's going to be uncomfortable, but you need to scrub away all the things that are no longer serving you. People around you with limiting beliefs. If you're living in a small town and you feel like you can't grow in that town, there's no growth for you there anymore. Maybe it's time to move away from there. If you feel like there are certain obligations or jobs or people around you or beliefs within yourself that are holding you back, it's time to cleanse yourself of all of those. Like, really, truly shed the version of yourself that you used to be so you can grow into this new version. And with Temperance reversed, it's going to require a lot of patience, because it takes patience and time, and not just cleansing the once, but cleansing over and over again, and constantly having it in your mind that if this is something that you want, if this is a version of yourself that you want to grow into, if you want to continue to grow and follow where the universe is guiding you, continue following this purpose that is laid out for you and wanting a bigger and better life for yourself, it's gonna take a lot of discipline. And it's gonna suck because it's so much easier to just go with what's comfortable and to just hang around with people you already know. It's so much more difficult to shove yourself out into the cold, away from everything that you've known. Go into the unknown, and it's scary. But you really need to have that guiding light within you of, who do I want to be? What do I want to make out of my life? If I want more, I need to be willing to chase it. And I see that you want it. I see that you're willing to chase it. But you're in this change period where you're at this kind of almost fork in the road. And there's the one road you could go down is the road that you already know. Or there's the road that is the unknown. But the unknown, it looks a lot scarier. It's a lot darker. But you just need to ask yourself, which one do you care about more? What direction of your life would you rather have gone in if you imagine yourself 10 years from now? 10 years into the life that's laid out for you, or 10 years into the life that you chose for yourself? You really got to ask yourself that. So that's what I see for you. I know it's a very bittersweet thing, especially when it comes to friends and leaving behind friend groups or family members that have limiting beliefs, but it's a very difficult but necessary part of this journey, because in order to grow, you need to be on your own. And I'm not saying it's impossible to grow with others around you, but if you choose to prioritize them over yourself, or spending time with them even though you know that it's detrimental to you, you're not giving yourself the proper space to grow. It's like trying to imagine yourself being like a sunflower, and you need the sun to grow, and you need your own space in the grass to grow, but you're surrounded by all these other sunflowers that refuse to grow, and so you're stuck directly under their petals. And because they're refusing to grow, you can't get any sunshine for yourself. So you need to physically unplant yourself, uproot yourself, go to a different place where there's nobody around and replant yourself. And yes, it's difficult and scary. Maybe there's less protection around, but it allows you to grow to your fullest potential. And you can only grow as high as the people around yourself will let you. And when you start to outshine them, they'll try to shove you down. They'll be uncomfortable with, why are you acting better than me? Why are you suddenly changing? You're not who you used to be. With all those voices around you, it's going to make you second guess yourself. It's going to be harder and harder to maintain discipline if everybody around you is trying to shove you down. So you need to be willing to go it alone. Even if it's just for a short while. Be willing to do this on your own. Because the only person that is going to support you 100% is yourself. So, pile one, that is everything that I have for you. I really hope that you enjoyed this reading. I hope it brought you clarity on your situation. And I truly wish you the best on this path that you're on. I see it's not an easy one. It's definitely emotionally going to be a bit of turmoil, but it's really, really worth it. Trust me, it is really worth it when you can prioritize yourself and chase after what sets your heart on fire. So that is everything that I have for you. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye. Okay, pile two. If you chose the hematite, then this is the reading for you. And the way that we're doing this is we're looking at, what are you growing out of? What are you outgrowing? And then we're looking at, what is it time for you to grow into next? Almost like if you imagine a plant that has outgrown its pot and it needs to be moved into a bigger pot so it can accommodate more growth. That's kind of the stage that you're in right now. What are you outgrowing and what is it time to grow into? And then we're also looking at, like, who is the past version of yourself, and then who is the new version of yourself that you're going to be turning into. And what I'm really getting very strongly from your cards here is it has to do with family and family expectations and moving away from that to live your own life, but also the kinds of trials that comes with. I'm having a hard time phrasing it, but let's get into it. So how I'm seeing this is I'm seeing strength and the devil reversed. And the strength card to me just made me think about incredibly structured rules. Specifically when it comes to family, it's like, if you live under this roof, if you have this family name, you listen to, I don't know, the matriarch or the patriarch, the person that was in control of the family, and what they said goes, and their ideals of how you live your life, and like, basically it's up to them how you live your life. You weren't given any freedom to choose. It's like, okay, you get a job to support the family, you support your siblings, you you work here, you get this kind of job because this kind of job is honorable, and you can't have these jobs, like, so something as simple as, like, you need to become a doctor because doctors are honorable, and you can't be a musician because that's stupid. It's like little, like, things like that, where it's like they wanted to dictate how you lived your life, but also things like certain behaviors, like you need to dress this way, you need to go to church every Sunday, you need to do this and that, even if those things didn't necessarily resonate with you. And for a long time, it's felt like you've had this strong, strict structure over your life that you wanted to free yourself from. You really felt like you didn't enjoy being told what to do. Not because you just wanted to be a rebel and you wanted to do whatever you want, but because these things that you were being told to do really didn't resonate with you. They didn't set your heart on fire. You didn't love to do them. Sure, you love your family, you care about them, especially your siblings, if for those of you that have them. But you didn't resonate with the life that they wanted to force you to live. And freeing yourself from that was incredibly difficult, and still will be if you haven't yet, because I feel like whoever this voice of strictness is, whether it's a mother or a father or a grandparent, whoever this person is that has the most control, they also have financial control over you. And they have the ability to turn away your siblings or your cousins away from you, because look at that outcast who's decided to leave. Like, I don't know if you belong to a specific religion that is very specific about like, I don't know, gender roles or your role in the world or what you should be doing. But you've always felt like it wasn't right for you. You didn't want to live that life. But what comes along with breaking out of that is becoming literally an outcast. And what I see here with, the past version of yourself versus who you're growing into, I feel like when I look at the wolf and I look at the beaver, they're actually very similar. But the wolf card belongs to a pack, and the pack has an alpha. I know this isn't how actual wolf dynamics work, but this is like what people talk about. The wolf pack has an alpha, and what the alpha says goes, and everybody must fall in line, everybody must work for the pack, everybody must take care of the pack, and you cannot have any obligations outside of that. You cannot stand up and decide that you want to go play guitar and leave the pack. Like, it's just unheard of. You'll be cast out into the cold. But when I see the version of you that you're growing into, you have the beaver. And the beaver also is very close-knit with family, but in a nurturing way. Not in a violent way, not in a scary way, not in a rigid structural way, but in the way that they spend their entire life homemaking and making sure their home is as cozy and safe as possible and creating this really tranquil pond for them to fish out of. I actually don't know anything about beavers, but this is what I'm imagining after seeing, like, beaver dams. Like, when they make a dam, they turn this crazy flowing river of chaos into a peaceful, tranquil pond that they can raise families in. And so what I'm imagining is moving away from a toxic family dynamic, not because you hate family, but because you want to pursue the things that you love. And part of that is being able to make a family on your own accord and building up that family with the freedom of knowing that, like, it's okay if you move on, and, like, telling your kids, like, it's okay if you want to do what you want to do with your life. You want to create that kind of environment rather than this kind of wolf environment where everything is structured and strict. And I don't know why I'm getting that dynamic, but when I look at these cards, I see that deep down you are still the same person. It's just in one you are so much more uncomfortable, so much more unhappy, versus in the beaver card, I just see a much happier version of you that is still true to you. But what I see with what are you growing into, I see when you decide, if you want to decide to move away from this family and move out on your own and really decide what you want to do for your life, I want to give you this piece of warning, because you have the caution card clarified by the Page of Wands reversed. I don't know how sheltered you were as a child, like how much you really know about the outside world, because what I'm getting from the beginning cards is such a strict and structured lifestyle that you weren't really exposed to people outside of family. Like, this is hopefully not a controversial example, but like Mormonism. In Utah, Mormon culture is very Mormons marry Mormons, and also everybody's really, really blonde and blue-eyed. And so I imagine, like, if you wanted to step out of that culture and marry outside of Mormonism, do things outside of Mormonism, it would be very, like, side-eyed by family and friends and stuff like that. But also, like, things outside of that. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen those TikToks where they interview people from this college, BYU, that's predominantly heavily Mormon. And when they interview them, the kids are always talking about, like, oh, don't drink coffee, I don't drink any hot beverages, I don't drink alcohol at all, I don't ever curse. And it's like, I'm not saying those are bad things, but it's a very strict lifestyle that really doesn't expose them to the harshness of the real world and anything outside of their culture, for the most part. And when I see this caution card clarified by the Page of Wands reversed, it's almost this kind of warning to tell you, when you go out into the real world, you're gonna be exposed to things you need to be very careful about, because you've not been warned about certain things about the real world. You've not been warned about, like, you've been heavily sheltered from the real world, and that can get you in a lot of trouble. So be very cautious and learn how to navigate. Okay, this is a really weird example. I don't know why I've been coming up with really weird examples lately, but imagine you grew up Mormon in Utah, very sheltered, didn't have a lot of internet access as a kid, and therefore you know very little about the real world. But you've heard in, like, some movies about people moving to LA to pursue being a musician. So you're like, okay, I'm gonna go to LA and be a musician. And then you move into, like, a heavily, like, gang incorporated area, like, and then you're just, like, going against all the rules of, like, what the people in those neighborhoods, like, the way they behave, the way they live, and then you put a big target on your back and people don't want you there. That is the kind of caution I'm giving you, is, like, when you go out into the real world, there are going to be a lot of different cultures and a lot of different rules that nobody will tell you about, but you need to learn to abide by and live carefully. I'm not saying the world as a whole is a scary place, but for some reason, you're getting this caution card as it relates to freedom. Like, freedom is great. Live it up. Enjoy your freedom. But recognize with that freedom comes a responsibility to take care of yourself and learn the realities of the world. Because I feel like for a long time, you've been really sheltered from reality. I think that is what I'm really trying to get at here, which is kind of like we took a lot of detours to get there, but I hope you understood what I was trying to say. Because what I see for you as a whole is you're outgrowing this rigid social structure that you were raised in. You're outgrowing it because it's not what you are meant to do. You are meant to live free and live the life that you want to live. But when you get that freedom, there is a little bit of caution of, be careful. Really learn the rules and the customs of wherever you decide to go. Because even something like LA, I mean, there's a very strong gang presence in a lot of places in California, but especially in LA. Just be careful. Be careful. Maybe, like, also just don't be overly trusting to where you would willingly give away possessions to others, but be trusting enough in people that know what you're trying to do or where you're trying to go. Like, going with the music example again, there are a lot of people in the music industry that would take advantage of you. Not just physically, but also take advantage of you money-wise and, like, leave you high and dry. And I know this is a very, like, a negative view of the world, but in order to live truly free and happy, you need to know the entirety of everything. Not just the positive, because there's a lot of positive in the world, but there's also a lot of negative. And when you haven't been fully exposed to the world, you can easily get taken advantage of by people that wish to do harm or people that wish to take advantage. So I just feel the need to teach you that, because if a parent hasn't properly taught you that about the rest of the world, I don't know. It's important things to know, important things to keep in mind as you branch out and go forth in the world. So, pile 2, that is what I'll leave you with. I hope that this reading brought you some clarity. I hope it made some sense. But I really wish you the best on your journey. I know that this is not an easy one that you're embarking on. It's incredibly hard to outgrow family, but it's time for you to grow into the version of yourself that you want to be. So I truly wish you the best on your journey, but that is everything that I have for you. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye. All right, pile 3, last but certainly not least. If you chose the blue lace agate, then this is the reading for you. And the way that we're doing this is we're looking at, what are you outgrowing right now? What is no longer fitting you? And then what are you going to be growing into? What is the next thing that you are meant to grow into? And then in the middle here we have who is the past version of yourself that you're outgrowing, and then who is the new version of yourself that you're growing into. So what I see with what you're outgrowing, you are outgrowing letting fear control your life. Letting fear be the reason that you make your decisions. Because you have this fear card clarified by the Two of Pentacles. And I think when I look at these two pentacles, I look at one pentacle symbolizes the safe route, and the other one symbolizes what your heart would love to go after if you only had a little bit more confidence. But because of your fear telling you, oh, that's not going to work out, it's going to cost you money, it's going to cause a breakdown, it's going to blah, 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 because you have those fears running rampant in your mind, you've always chosen the safe route. You've always chosen the safe pentacle. And this has gone for a lot of different decisions. Whether it's going after a certain career or it's like, oh, that person's really cute, I kind of want to go up to them. But then the fear side of you is like, nope, nope, nope. They don't like you. They're going to hate you. They're going to spit on you. They're going to push you into the puddles. No. The fear side of you, I talk about this a lot in readings. It's a primal instinct of our ego to protect us, even from things that we would like to try. Because if there's a possibility that we could get hurt or judged or embarrassed, our ego will instill so much fear in us to keep that from ever happening. But you need to recognize that a lot of the times, this fear that we fear so strongly is just trying to stop us from getting hurt. But it's also something that we don't need to dictate our lives for us. Because if you really want something, you need to recognize, yeah, bad things could happen, but good things could happen too. And if you completely close off any possibility of anything happening, then you're just never going to get to experience the good. So when you look at these things and the possibility of failure, you have to say, yeah, failure is a possibility, but I still want to try anyway, because success is also a possibility. If you allow yourself to really revel in like, what would success look like? What would it look like if I went up to that person and I told them that I liked them and they liked me too? And it wasn't a failure. Or what if I pursued that job that I don't think I was really going to get, but I get it anyway? What would your life look like if you were willing to take on the risk of getting hurt, the risk of failing? And your ego will go crazy about it. Your ego will try its hardest to protect you and instill so much fear into you. But there's something that I personally do when I was dealing with this is say, I thank you for helping protect me, but I don't need you to do it anymore. I'm a big enough person now that I don't need you to protect me and dictate my decisions for me. Really tell your brain, like, respect that I am willing to go after what I want and also take on the possibility of failure. Like, I understand what could happen from it and I'm still willing to take it on anyway. And then you'll start to realize, like, that side of your brain that was holding you back and fixating on fear, that voice gets smaller and smaller until it goes away altogether. And sometimes you feel a little bit of a pang of fear, but you also recognize, like, I still want to go after this anyway. I still want to try to at least say that I tried, so I don't constantly live in regret and like, what if? And I feel for so long there have been so many things that you want to do. And with the unicorn and the scorpion, when I see the unicorn and the scorpion, they both have these strong points. The unicorn has this horn on its head, and the scorpion has its stinger on its tail. And when I look at these cards, when I see the unicorn, I'm almost picturing like a little girl who like wears princess dresses and stuff like that kind of unicorn. I know that in this deck, like, it has a mystical meaning and stuff, and it's supposed to be very strong. But the meaning that I'm getting from it is Fantasyland. Like, you just fantasizing about the kind of life that you want to live, but you're like, in your mind, you're like, but yeah, it's all just make-believe, it's not gonna happen. Versus the scorpion is down to earth, quite literally, right on the earth, very, like, whereas the unicorn is constantly up in la la land, the scorpion is grounded in reality. It understands the realities of situations, it understands danger, but it also realizes that what it wants to go after, the prey that it wants to go after, the food that it wants, it's not going to be able to get unless it literally acts decisively in like one swift motion to sting that prey. I actually don't know if that's how they hunt. But when I see the tail on a scorpion, if you've ever seen how it strikes its prey, it's decisive. It's extremely fast and to pinpoint accuracy what it wants to go after. Versus when I see the unicorn, I see that it has this horn, but it's not utilizing it. It's just kind of daydreaming about the life that it wants to live. And that's the past version of you, is, in your mind, in your dreams, in your daydreams, indulging in your fantasies. But the version of yourself that you're growing into actually decisively takes action to go after what it wants, strikes fast and swift at opportunities that it wants to take, strikes while the iron's hot, is what they say, I think. Because when you want something, if you have a crush and you're like, oh, I really like them, I want to go out with them, but then you just don't ever do anything, if they liked you and you just let that opportunity pass you by, you're never gonna know. And they might end up going on to be in a relationship and get married, and there you are on the sidelines thinking, well, they would have said no anyway. You have no idea what they would have said no to. They probably would have said yes. Or maybe they would have said no. Oh well, at least you could say that you acted decisively and you went after what you wanted. Same thing with jobs or literally anything in the world that you want to make into reality. It requires action on your part, and I see that the version of yourself that you're growing into does not want to be guided by fear anymore. It wants to go after what it wants. It does not want to see opportunities pass it by even just one more time. And so what I see with what you're growing into, you have the passion card and strength reversed. Now, strength reversed talks about a lack of confidence. But what I see is even with lack of confidence, even with fear in your heart, you are still taking swift, decisive action. Because let's go back to the scorpion example. Do you think a scorpion attacking a prey that could possibly kill it is not afraid? No, that scorpion is probably afraid. I don't actually know how scorpions work, but if I had to imagine in this analogy, the scorpion is still terrified, but it is willing to fight tooth and nail to take that action and take that chance of life or death and the possibility of being able to eat, being able to go after what it wants. With you don't have to have an absence of fear to take action. This is also something that I talk about in reading sometimes, is if you want something and you're afraid of the possibility of failure, taking action, you don't need to wait until there's no more fear to take action. You can be shaking in your boots and still strike and still go after it. You can be teeth chattering, about to pass out, anxious, and send that risky text to the person that you're into. You can still do it. You can physically take action while terrified. And a lot of people think that bravery is the absence of terror, but it's not. Bravery is the willingness to act even while still terrified. And what I see for the future version of you is still scared, still hates the prospect of failure, still hates the prospect of being judged or being let down. But the desire to follow your passions is greater than that fear. It outweighs it. And so over time, this fear will dissipate, but it's going to take action after action and following those passions to make it eventually go away. And it's not going to go away right away. You're still going to be making decisions terrified and literally shaking in your boots, teeth chattering, feeling the blood is draining out of your face and you're turning white, like you're about to pass out, but you're still able to press that button, to take that action, to take that step towards what you want. And that's the version of yourself that you're growing into, is the version that is no longer controlled by fear, the version of you that acts decisively and strikes to go after what you want. So that's what I see for you, Pile 3. I think that you're going to be growing into a version of yourself that feels so much happier when you're not holding yourself back, so much happier when you can just go after what you want, because I think that there is a dream life that you are meant to live out. There is a purpose that you are meant to live out. But you can't do it if you don't take action. Notice how I didn't say, but you can't do it if you're afraid. You can do it if you're afraid. You can do it if you're terrified. But you can't do it if you don't take action. So take that action even though you're terrified. So Pile 3, that is everything that I have for you. Thank you so much for watching. I truly wish you the best on your journey, and I really hope that this brought you some clarity when you needed the most. But that is everything that I have for you. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.